I'm interviewing my grandma on how she's made apple cider for about the past 30 years. So, Grandma, when is the most ideal picking time?
You want to start to pick your apples between August and September. The latest you want to pick apples is, I would say, November. Um, Grandpa used to spray the apples. He would start in the early spring, and this was a dormant spray that he would use. Then he would use a pre-bloom spray and a post-bloom spray. Um, he would spray for bugs and disease about every 15 to 20 days. And then if we would get rain, he would have to respray. Um, when Grandpa sprayed, he would do the apples and the leaves. That was very important.
Okay. So, what apples are okay to pick for apple cider then?
The apples on the tree need to be about the size of your fist or bigger. You don't want to pick apples up off the ground at all because those can harbor bacteria. And a lot of times, you can get disease or worms. It also will make your apple cider inferior.
Then, what do you do with the apples once you've picked them?
Well, Grandpa and I would take the apples and put them in the basement where it was cool, spread it out on newspaper, and we had a long table down there where we would put our apples, and then this would allow the apples to ripen. Another way you could ripen the apples, though, is you can put them in a paper bag that you get from the grocery store.
So then, how would you know when they're ripe if you're waiting for them downstairs or if you put them in a paper bag?
Well, your apples are going to get fragrant and you're going to know it. You're just going to smell those apples and they'll have a really nice smell. You know when they're ripe. Apples do ripen at different times though, so you're going to want to make sure you're checking on your apples. Another way that you can know whether your apples are ripe is if there's some give to them.
Okay. So what do you do to in order to prep the apples for the cider?
Okay, well, we would wash our apples really well. One way that we would do it is we'd put the apples in a bucket and use the garden hose on high pressure. You want to make sure you're getting all your pesticides, your dirt, and all bugs off. And Grandpa and I were very particular about this, so we usually did this a couple times.
So once you've washed the apples of the dirt and the pesticides, what do you do next after you've washed them and they're clean?
We would use an apple slicer. Um, we still would use the core because there's a lot of juice and a lot of flavor that you're still going to get out of that. You want to make sure that you're cutting out any brown spots. And if you cut into an apple and it has a worm in it, you're going to want to get rid of that.
Where did you get your first fruit press?
Well, the kids got us that as a Christmas gift one year, and everyone has really enjoyed it.
So then what do you do after you cut the apples? What's the next step?
Okay, then you have a cheesecloth bag, and you're going to put that in the fruit press. You're going to fill your cheesecloth about half full of apple slices. Then you're going to turn the fruit press crank, and juice will end up pooling around the edge of the fruit press.
Okay. So ultimately, what else can you do with the cider? What all can you do with the cider?
Okay, well, Grandpa and I, a lot of times we would preserve the apple cider. You can put it in a quart jar and then use a water bath. You can make hard cider. Some people like that. And then I always make some apple cider vinegar also.
Thank you, Grandma.
You're welcome.